Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss Dead Man's Folly, starring Peter Ustinov, Gene Stapleton, and Constance Cummings, and directed by Clive Donner. Let's just get straight into this movie because I have not seen this before this show, so let's get into it. We open in London, England, where Hercule Poirot bumping into Ariadne Oliver, I don't know if I'm saying that right, played by Gene Stapleton, who's an author getting her books autographed and is writing a novel about murder, which Hercule is an expert on. And gets to Ariadne's house. I can't even say that name right, I swear. With Captain Hastings and gets introduced to Sir George Stubbs, who also owns the house. Alec and Sally Legge, I don't know if I'm. Jeez Louise. Who are a married couple, Sir George's wife Hattie and Secretary Amanda Brewis, and the characters are fine at best so far. And as we're introduced to the characters, there's some things I'm noticing here. One is, isn't it weird that Sir George is having a carnival at the same time as when he has people over in this house in the backyard? Because it feels odd to me. Two, Hercule notices things are wrong with the people around, like a girl running as Michael Wayman is running towards her, and after hand, he finds nothing but a woman living on the other side. And three, did anybody know how rude everyone was being to Ariadne or something like that after she was trying to get her story down to introduce to the guests of the house? But honestly, it felt suspicious that Hercule can see something is really wrong here. And these scenes are telling that it's not on any of the people we meet in the introduction, which to me feels like a cheating, despite we don't know that the German and Italian woman's name right off the bat, because they don't matter at the time during the opening. And as one of them is the killer by the end of the day. And my problem is we never get a name, and that's cheating in my opinion. Hattie's childhood frenemy, let's call it, Eddie South comes to town to see Hattie, and it's so obvious he came in during the carnival, and she really likes him as it's telegraphed all over the place, just like half the movie is telegraphed. And I'm not a fan of things that are obviously telegraphed. The movie is. It's exposed half to death, but luckily, I don't know how the murder will go until the movie expresses it. And I'll get there when I get there. Meanwhile, Hercule sees the music building canoes, and canoes a canoe there to see the Folly as a clue, and they find a woman who is hung dead, and unfortunately, the movie doesn't make me care for the characters except for Hercule, which feels kind of sad. Hercule meets Detective Inspector Bland, which is kind of a funny name, as they've met before in the past, and I'm still asking myself, why should I care at this point? And I can't come up with a reason except for Hercule, and that's it, which is unfortunately very sad. Don't get me wrong, there's some things I like in this movie. For example, the carnival scene and how the whole movie is shot, which are probably the best things about the movie, in my opinion. But it's not much whatsoever. Hattie is missing after the murder of the woman, and we get how she met Eddie when the kids and the actor playing Eddie wasn't convincing, in my opinion, anyways. And that felt like a TV movie wherever the score that sounds so obvious when it goes to a commercial break, which was pretty bad. And as far as I'm concerned, it felt like the TV movie thing. Maybe this is a TV movie. I couldn't really tell you. After the commercial break, we get introduced to Amy. Let me see if I'm reading this right. Follier? Or Folliat? Something like that? Played by Constance Cummings, who's an older woman as they look around of where Hattie was, and Hercule visits one person after another as Ariadne writes right around the murder of the woman as well as Hattie, as Hercule is led to believe Hattie was killed by someone around them somewhere. And the scene where everyone is running away from Ariadne was actually funny to me, but the movie lost my interest at this point. But it's not bad. It's not so bad, but it's bad that I could think Sir George is up to something as far as the murder is concerned. So my money was on Sir George and Amy, and any accomplices in the murder. The movie has no tension and suspense. Like, I wasn't on the edge of my seat at that point. They find a Hattie's hat in the water and also a dead body, and Captain Hastings shows Hercule, who might be the suspects, and they go to an older Mrs. Folly's house. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Please forgive me. To talk with her. Then they go to the Tucker's house, as it's so far all over the place, and I'm going back to I can't understand a thing they're saying. As the little girl tells Hercule, Captain Hastings, excuse me, where they to find the killer, and the score in that scene was very distracting. I mean, the score was bad, sure, but it felt distracting during some scenes in this movie, as Hercule sends Captain Hastings to get some people from London, while Hercule tells people who the killers are, and it is St. George disguised as Jimmy, and as an accomplice is Hattie disguised as an Italian woman. How it happened feels like a cheat, so I'm not a fan of it. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.4 out of 10. The reveal felt like a cheat. The movie has no tension or suspense as it wasn't suspenseful. The score felt very distracting as the characters were not as interesting as Hercule, in my opinion, and it felt very TV movie, which felt very distracting. I'm not a fan of this movie, as the twist isn't believable. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time, I will be back with Murder in 3 Acts, and until next time, it's time to solve a murder.